Carson Hocevar was leading the Daytona 500 on the final lap when everything fell apart. But what happened next has the entire NASCAR world asking one question. Did NASCAR change the rules just to make sure he didn't win? Because the decision officials made in that final lap has sparked a massive controversy that won't go away. Carson Hocevar just experienced the most brutal weekend of his NASCAR career. The 23-year-old driver thought he was about to win the Daytona 500, the biggest race in American motorsports. Instead, he left Florida with a wrecked car, a heated confrontation caught on camera, and heartbreak that'll sting for years. But here's where it gets interesting. Some fans are calling what happened at Daytona a conspiracy. They're saying NASCAR officials made a very specific decision on the final lap that cost Hocevar his shot at victory. And the more you look at what went down, the harder it is to ignore their questions. Hocevar didn't just show up to race in the Daytona 500. This kid decided to go all in on Daytona Speed Week by racing in all three NASCAR series: the Craftsman Truck Series on Friday night, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on Saturday, and the Cup Series Daytona 500 on Sunday. 3 different cars, 3 different teams, 3 chances to make history. The weekend started strong. Hocevar finished second in his dual qualifying race, locking himself into the Daytona 500 starting lineup in 6th place. The Spire Motorsports driver looked fast, looked confident, and most importantly, he looked like a threat to win. Friday's Truck Series race should have been Hocevar's moment. He jumped out front early, leading 20 laps and looking absolutely dominant. Then the gremlin showed up. His truck literally shut off while he was leading the race, just died. And if that wasn't bad enough, Hocevar spun out 3 separate times during the race, causing back-to-back cautions at one point. He finished 35th with a DNF, which is about as bad as it gets when you've been leading. Saturday's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race is where things got really messy. Hocevar climbed into a Young's Motorsports Chevrolet and tried to play it safer after Friday's chaos. He got caught up in not 1 but 2 multi-car wrecks and finished 20th. But the race results weren't even the biggest story. What happened after the checkered flag turned into one of the most heated confrontations of the 2026 season so far. Carson Ware, driving the No 30 car for Rick Ware Racing, had some serious words for Hocevar. During the only green-white checkered restart at the end of the race, Hocevar was trying to get going but got stuck behind Ware, who was lagging back playing the strategy game that happens at superspeedways. Hocevar got frustrated, flipped Ware off, and then allegedly doored Ware's car after the race was over. Ware was not having it. The confrontation was caught on camera by NASCAR reporter Noah Lewis, and Ware absolutely unloaded on Hocevar. When Ware spoke to the media afterward, he explained his position clearly.
Once the race was over and we took checker flag, I was just kind of coasting back down to pit road, and I'm cool with people flipping me off. I got thick skin, that's fine with me. But I was just really displeased with Hocevar dooring our race car and tearing up stuff after the race. Our guys at Barrett Coat work really hard, man, and they put a lot of hours into this stuff, and I just was sticking up for my guys. Like I said, you call me names, you can flip me off or do whatever. That's cool, man. I get it. Everybody has emotions. But when we start tearing up race cars after the checkered flag, that's just something I'm not cool with.
After Friday's mechanical disaster and Saturday's confrontation, Hocevar still had one more shot at redemption: the Daytona 500. And for 199 laps and 3 turns, Carson Hocevar had it. Spire Motorsports had both their cars running strong. Hocevar was working with his teammates, pushing them to the front, executing the strategy perfectly. As the white flag came out for the final lap, Hocevar was leading the Daytona 500. Then everything fell apart in the worst possible way. Coming through the backstretch on the final lap, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Eric Jones got stacked up behind Hocevar. Jones made contact with Hocevar's rear bumper, and that was all it took. The No. 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet went spinning to the left, shooting across the front of the field into the infield grass. Hocevar took Jones and Michael McDowell with him. Cars were flying everywhere. The top had a huge run. Jones was just offset a little to the right. I don't know if I didn't commit all the way up or if he just got me off center and just hooked me into the wall, Hocevar explained after the race. I feel like I'm a really good pusher, and I feel like I do a really good job. The 45 Tyler Reddick had the lead, and then 71 McDowell had strategy, and I pushed him off into the lead. But here's the brutal part that has everyone talking. No caution came out because they were past the white flag. The race kept going. Tyler Reddick, who had been running behind Hocevar just moments before, navigated through the chaos and stole the victory. Hocevar limped the car to the finish line, placing 18th, his best finish of the weekend. I don't really know what happened other than I felt like I got a good shot in the rear, but they're a little offset, a dejected Hocevar said. I was just trying to get our lane rolling, but yeah, really proud of these guys. At least there wasn't a tire or a motor or some other freak deal. So I go to bed tonight knowing that and knowing I don't know what I would really do different. And this is where the conspiracy theories start. It appeared over the weekend that NASCAR implemented a new policy that made an extra effort to not reasonably throw a caution on the final lap of a superspeedway race. It wasn't just the Cup race. The Truck Series race on Friday had the exact same thing happen. Solo car spins that would have drawn cautions earlier in the weekend suddenly didn't. Cup Series Managing Director Brad Moran was on SiriusXM NASCAR radio on Wednesday morning and said the sanctioning body was more fortunate that the incidents under this particular microscope didn't result in a yellow flag circumstantially. The race directors did a great job this weekend, Moran said. We have a lot of resources. We have turn spotters, cameras, and replay, a lot of folks in the tower. We have remote race control. We have all these resources that communicate to us, and we felt there was nothing that we had to immediately go out. We were still monitoring the situation in turn one, and we were able to let that one play out to the start-finish line. Obviously, the caution came out when the leaders got together right at start-finish line. They crossed over it under green, and then the caution flew. That's all within a split second. So we definitely held it as long as we could, but we would try to do that last year, the year before, and nothing changed. It just laid out that we could do it at this particular race. On NASCAR's Hauler Talk podcast, League Managing Director of Communications Mike Ford says they were bailed out by Daytona's significant runoff area, and that this may not play out the same on the last lap this weekend at Atlanta. We may see a hit that looks hard, a nose into the wall collision that bent the front clip, and we need to get safety trucks out there as soon as possible, Ford said. We did not see that in Daytona. Or that same type of wreck could happen, but the runoff area in Atlanta is non-existent. There is a ton of runoff area in Daytona, and so because of that, they were able to get out of harm's way. In Atlanta, that probably won't be the case, so there may be a flag. The only recent change, says Ford, is that NASCAR will be more diligent about throwing a caution if drivers would need to traverse at speed through a debris field, which came up after the Daytona 500 last year. And those evolving decisions are based on communication with the Driver Advisory Council through consultant Jeff Burton. Denny Hamlin endorsed the approach this weekend as long as there is continued consistency. Well, I think everyone is okay with whatever it is, as long as it's consistent, Hamlin said. Somebody said, as long as it's the same for all races, and this weekend, they were very consistent. So I don't think anyone should have any gripes about that. We saw they set the tone really on Friday, and so they let those guys race it out. So was this a conspiracy against Carson Hocevar? Probably not. NASCAR officials say they've been trying to hold cautions on final laps for years. And Daytona's huge runoff area just happened to make it possible this time. But you can understand why Hocevar fans are furious. Their driver was leading the biggest race of the year on the final lap. He got wrecked. And NASCAR decided not to throw a caution, which allowed someone else to win. The positive takeaway for Hocevar is that he collected solid stage points throughout the weekend, which helps him in the championship standings. He proved he can run up front, He showed that Spire Motorsports made the right call, investing in him for the long term with a deal that runs into the next decade. Thank goodness Dan Taurus and Jeff Dickerson believe in me, and they get to let me have a lot more shots at this Daytona 500 thing, Hocevar added, referring to his huge new deal recently signed at Spire Motorsports. Now, the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Atlanta, where Hocevar finished second last year. He's got a chance to put this Daytona nightmare behind him and get back to racing. But make no mistake, this weekend will stick with Carson Hocevar. Leading the Daytona 500 on the final lap and watching it slip away isn't something you just forget. Getting called out on national television for not respecting other teams' equipment isn't something you just brush off. The question is, how will Hocevar respond? Will this break him or make him stronger? Will he learn the lessons that Carson Ware tried to teach him? Will he get another shot at winning the Daytona 500? For now, all we know is that Carson Hocevar gave Daytona Speed Week everything he had. 3 races, 3 different cars, 3 different outcomes, and one unforgettable weekend that had it all. Speed, drama, confrontation, and heartbreak. That's NASCAR in 2026. And Carson Hocevar is right in the middle of it all.